Welcome on back. In this one today, we're going to be going over 5 things that are in the non-Treyarch Zombies games like IW and World War II and how they are better or should be added into the Treyarch Zombie games. I don't ever show enough love to non-Treyarch Zombie games, so I wanted to for this video because there are some aspects in the non-Treyarch games that are heavily lacking in the Treyarch games. So without a further ado, let's get right into it. Coming into our first feature, this is going to the point transfers from both Infinite Warfare and World War II. I prefer the one on World War II, but the one on Infinite Warfare is just as good. And what I mean by point transfer is the ability to share points with other players. There isn't a single Treyarch Zombies game that allows you to do this effectively where you share points with other teammates. In Black Ops 4, there is an elixir that you can use, but it's pretty much useless because you can only share 500 points every 2 to 3 minutes, which is just not that effective. In World War II Zombies, however, there is a button you can press on your D-pad that allows you to drop points and give them to other players in the game at any time for any amount. It is super effective and actually makes the Zombies experience feel like a co-op game mode. Points have always been a problem in Zombies since the best player ends up always getting way too much and the worst player has to work with very little, which isn't balanced because the best player on your team will have a much easier experience than the bad players on your team. Having some sort of way to share points would be a nice change to see in Treyarch Zombie games, even if they use the ones from IW Zombies, which isn't the best, but it still is much better than the options that you have on Black Ops 4. IW allows one player to deposit a certain amount into a bank and then the other player can take out the amount that they deposited. It's not the best system because you have to lose 1,000 points at a time and you and your teammates have to be in a certain area on the map, but it's a much better solution than having to waste an elixir slot just so that you and your friends can have more points. It is a system that was always helpful for the non-Treyarch Zombie games, and I'm surprised that Treyarch hasn't implemented it into any of their games yet, since in my opinion, it's a great feature. Moving into our second feature, this is more related to things that you can do outside of the game, and it's challenges. Again, World War II does really well when it comes to challenges in Zombies. They have a whole system that is constantly being updated where you can get specific challenges to do in-game, and Treyarch tried to do this a few times in Black Ops 4 and in Black Ops 3, but they failed in comparison to the challenges that you can do in World War II because in those games, there were either limited time offers for certain seasons like Halloween with all the face paints, or there were only once every other day and all you got was liquid divinium or XP. Not only were these challenges rarely handed out, but they didn't really give you anything rewarding. Black Ops 4 later on got better with rewards because after getting 50 supply drops, you could trade them in for a new weapon, which I thought was actually pretty cool. The only problem was that it took Treyarch way too long to implement these changes. World War II might not have the best rewards, but the challenges were actually pretty interesting since they revolved more around just killing zombies and getting to high rounds like the Treyarch games. Some of these challenges required you to do the Easter egg or use certain weapons. Moving forward, I think Treyarch could greatly improve if they were to use the reward system from Black Ops 4 where you could buy weapons using supply drops, and they added it in with the challenge system from World War II. Currently in Cold War and Vanguard Zombies, there really isn't a challenge system for the Zombies game mode, unless you want to count the Dark Matter challenges, but those are completely separate in my opinion. There are so many things in the store and the Battle Pass that aren't available for free-to-play players, and I think it would be nice to see some different things that you can do in-game to earn rewards. Now, coming into our third feature, moving away from World War II for just a moment and more into the IW-based systems, we have the introduction of a boss fight game mode. I'm surprised that Treyarch hasn't done something like this yet because I think it's a great idea. Something IW excelled at was the boss fights, and after doing all of them, you unlock this game mode where instead of doing all the boring steps to get to those boss fights, which, let's be honest, for 90% of all Easter eggs is actually the fun part, you could go straight into the action with all the perks and weapons that you want. I think it would be amazing to instantly load into the Gurad Krovi boss fight without having to do the Valve step or anything else like that. In Black Ops 4, this would be incredible to have because there are some cool boss fights in this game, but you have to do a ton of random meaningless steps just to get to them. The only time Treyarch did something close to this was through the 9 gauntlets, where at the very end you get to fight the elephant on that map for the last challenge. But it still requires a lot of work to get up to that point. Having a way to instantly get into a fight with the Eye of Odin, or the Pegasus boss fight, or even the werewolf on Blood of the Dead would be a fun change of pace and actually really good for the game, since most of these boss fights will never be played by the average player more than once. Only super hardcore players would have the patience to play through countless hours of gameplay just to have a chance at beating the boss. So adding a way for lower skill players to beat these bosses more than once without the hassle of doing the Easter egg steps would be very beneficial. Moving into our fourth feature, this ties not only into World War II, but also into Infinite Warfare, and it's having the ability to pick what character you want to play as. Now, I know a lot of you right now might be saying that you can play as operator mods in Cold War Zombies, but none of those characters have anything to do with zombies, with the exception of some of the Samantha skins that you can buy in the shop, of course. In World War II, you can select what character you want to play as, and these characters have some correlation to the story in one way or another. Same goes for IW. Later in the game, you can play as Willard Wylard instead of the generic IW characters. I think it would be really cool if you could play as any of the Ultimus or Primus characters in that game. It wouldn't add all too much to the actual gameplay, but it could get players closer to the characters in the game, which could help with the storytelling, which is an area that Zombies tends to struggle with a lot. Not only that, but making challenges for the game to unlock characters would be pretty cool as well. Maybe by completing all the Easter eggs in Black Ops 3, you could play as Dr. Monty or the Shadow Man. This idea doesn't only have to help with the story, but it could help with in-game rewards as well. I don't like playing as operator mods because it takes away from the ending cutscenes and the story. Playing as any of the Samantha skins on Firebase Z, for example, just leads to confusion because in the ending cutscene you see Samantha looking at the Dark Aether portal while Samantha leaves from the Dark Aether portal. It doesn't make all too much sense, but adding variety like how it's shown in World War II and Infinite Warfare could lead to a better experience. And for our fifth and last feature that should be improved in Treyarch Zombies that is currently in a non-Treyarch Zombies game, we have bosses. Now, Treyarch does have a selection of great bosses in Zombies, but none of them come close to the great boss fights that are in the non-Treyarch games. Mephistopheles is the greatest boss fight ever in Zombies, yet not many players know about it because they don't want to play IW. A lot of people like to give a huge praise to a lot of the Treyarch zombie boss fights, but to me, they aren't that impressive. The only ones that stand out a ton in my opinion are the Eye of Odin and the Keeper on Derizen Drak. When it comes to IW, you have incredible boss fights that are challenging and require different strategies like the aliens on Spaceland, the radioactive thing, the super slasher on Rave, and Mephistopheles when you get to the end. Almost every boss fight in Treyarch Zombies isn't well designed. Most of them are like bullet sponges where all you have to do is shoot a certain spot on their body and then you're done. For some bosses like the Nikolai boss fight on Gurad Krovi Orta on Firebase Z, or the Shadow Man on Shadows of Evil or Revelations. If you have a gun that deals a lot of damage, you can literally end the boss fight within seconds. Mephistopheles, on the other hand, is a boss that I haven't yet defeated because it takes a lot of effort just to get to him. Then when it comes time to actually defeat him, if you don't have the perfect loadout and perfect accuracy, you can fail almost instantly. Same goes for many of the other bosses in IW as well. The Attack of the Radioactive Things boss is very hard to defeat because there are multiple stages that are very difficult throughout this boss fight. You have to weaken certain areas on his skin, then do a ton of parkour, which is something that we've never seen in zombies. And to actually defeat him, you have to plant a bomb into his body and enter in the right code, which takes great reflexes and timing. The only boss fight I don't like in this game is the Beast from Beyond, but that boss fight still has some better mechanics than the Treyarch bosses. I prefer to do the Beast from Beyond than the ending boss on Zetsubo or Shadows of Evil. There are some interesting bosses on World War II as well, like the Panzer Mortar. Instead of just dealing damage the whole time, you have to shoot down batteries from blimps, charge them up, and then plant them on his body, which is once again much better than most of the Black Ops 3 bosses. This has always been a lacking area when it comes to Treyarch zombies, and with other gaming studios like IW and Sledgehammer, they seem to have a better grasp when it comes to this gameplay feature, in my opinion. Anyways guys, it's going to wrap up this video for today. If you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, do all that, so leave your comments down below if you want to see me do any other type of content. Check down the description as well for more zombie related videos, and yeah, I got nothing much else to say, so peace.